This is Monroe Stoll. I'm from Stowe, Ohio. And you're listening to Barbecue Central.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. This show is originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening, or if you would like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, they were on small handful of months ago. Maybe it was towards the end of the year. It was this year, actually, maybe January. They're a father-son duo. They were master-built. They are now the McLemore boys. John and John McLemore rejoin the show. We're going to be talking a lot about new book, some kind of cookbook, but not just cookbook. A lot of other things thrown in there for your consideration, so we'll talk to them about how the book came together, what the Fox and Friends concert series is going to look like this year, how that all came together, and some other questions as well. After the McLemore boys, we will be joined by the creator of the World Food Championships, Mike McLeod. Stops by to talk about a number of topics. As I'd mentioned last week, the 2024 version of Famous Dave's All-Star Barbecue series starts in just over a month, a little under a month's time at this point, the 18th of next month, where there's two, not one, but two kickoff events, one in Washington and one in somewhere else. And we'll also talk about the final table that took place a couple weeks ago down at Brightwater in Bentonville, Arkansas. And then, of course, we'll spend the remainder of the time talking about the big event that'll be taking place towards the end of the year, about 7 months from now, a little less than 7 months, which is the World Food Championships, but leaving Dallas for the first time in a number of years, relocating to its new current home of Indianapolis, Indiana, one of my favorite cities across the nation. So we'll talk to him about all of that. I will levy my concerns about having a mostly outdoor event in Indianapolis in the early/middle part of November. Then we'll move to the second hour, where we will find a guy who is eating more sandwiches perhaps than anybody else on the face of the earth, and he's loving it. Barry Enderwick, Sandwiches of History. We may or may not be teasing something out. We may or may not be learning about sandwiches that have raisins in them and cottage cheese and some weird recipe of mayo. We'll talk about shooting. We'll talk about content building, all that fun stuff. And then closing out the show, if it wasn't a banger already, we're going to bang it the only way we know how which is hard and fast, with our pal Chris Young from Combustion Inc., as we shake the very foundations of the live fire industry with his latest video. And if you haven't seen it yet, it's about resting meat is a myth. He has drawn the ire from many. It has been a long and brutal path of commentary over the last handful of weeks since its release, and we're going to talk about why he decided to do it, what his findings are, in case you haven't watched the video. And we'll talk about a number of other things as well. As we were sound checking earlier today, he said he's got some things that he would like to do as it relates more to the barbecue side of live fire. Just trying to find the time to do that. So that's how the show's laying out. It's a magical one. John and John McLemore coming up next. Mike McLeod after them. Second hour, Barry Enderwick. And closing it out, Chris Young from Combustion Inc. Don't forget you can follow me socially at the following channels: Instagram, X, TikTok, Snapchat, and find me on LinkedIn too. I forgot about that, but I've been steadily growing my LinkedIn following, all at the handle at BBQ Central Show, or if you go on LinkedIn, just search for me by first and last name. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of the video streaming platforms. You can go to facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or twitter.com/BBQ Central Show, or you can watch the show on the YouTubes, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. And we just happen to have a new YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody. This one's all over the board already. And this is on the heels of last week's question for the embedded correspondent, where I'm asking everybody tonight, including all guests, this question: lamb is the most underrated protein to go on the grill, yes or no? And currently 60% of you are saying yes. It is the most underrated protein to go on the grill. At one point, not too long ago, it was 75-25 in the other direction. People were taking a shit on it right off the bat, but less the shit taking and more the pro lamb is proving out in the early goings of the show. Results of the poll from last week. Before the show 2 weeks ago, you were familiar with the brand Monument Grills. Now, I believe last week, in a very confusing way, I said Monument and Momentum, and then Monument, and then Momentum, and it became very confusing for a number of people, mostly my dad, who said, what? But we got to figure it out. It's Monument. And as the results finished, 26% of you said, yes, you have heard of the grill brand Monument before the show 2 weeks ago, and 73% of you said no, you had not heard of it before the show 2 weeks ago with Wes Wright. So we're starting here tonight, and I don't know if I had mentioned this yet or not, but a few weeks ago, if you can believe it or not, a few weeks ago, I was finally able to get final confirmation that for the 5th year in a row, because that's what my research said as we started doing this in 2019, the Barbecue Central Show and the American Royal will once again team up, carrying both the top 10 finalists announcement and then the official Hall of Fame induction class announcements. Dates for the following: top 10 finalists announcement a week from tomorrow. So mark your calendar, May 8th, 3 p.m. Eastern. That's 1500 Eastern, maybe 1800 Zulu. I forget where we are with daylight savings at the moment. But we'd like to operate on Z time because Z time's the same for everybody, as long as you know how to do mathematics. But if you don't know how to do Z, 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 week from tomorrow, May 8th, we will reveal top 10 finalists. And then 2 weeks after that, on May 22nd, at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern, the actual Hall of Fame induction announcements that will be of the living members that go in. I believe we're putting in 4 instead of the original 3. There will also be legacy members going in, those that have passed on, that have earned the right to go into the Hall of Fame. And then there may or may not be a, whatever they call it. What's it called? A you did good Not participation, but you know what, an impact award. That's what I'm trying to say. So once again, mark your calendars because both on May 8th and May 22nd, what will we do? We will do it live.
We'll do it
That's
live.
right, Bill. Always fun to hear who's on the final list and then who makes the cut to the Hall of Fame 2 weeks later. And I know everybody's asking, is it my year this year in 2024? Is it my year? Who knows? I can tell you this. I voted for Sterling Ball getting my nomination. And it was impassioned. And if the names committee reads my answers, there's no way they can leave them out. Fewer deserving, especially present-day people, than Sterling Ball. And if you question that, I can send you my nomination answers. It's really quite simple and uncomplicated. Right, the Macklemore boys are loading in before we get to them. Let's talk about our pals over at Schwank Grills. If you're not familiar with what Schwank Grills is, here it is. In all of its stainless steel and infrared burner technology glory. What do you need to know? Unit heats up to 1,500 degrees, again, using the infrared burner technology, but we'll talk about that here in a second a little bit more. What does that mean to you? Well, now you can grill the juiciest steak you've ever tasted in as little as 40 minutes? No. 10 minutes? Nope. How about 3 minutes? That's right, depending on thickness. No more wasting your life cooking the proteins you want. Schwank Grills does it great and does it quick. The infrared burner technology, it's the same stuff used in the best steakhouses, including Morton's, Del Frisco, Cut 432, just to name a few. And these aren't brands that are also using infrared. They're using the Schwank infrared technology. You get drip tray benefits as well. All the way at the very bottom, you can melt some butter. You can rest the proteins in that butter bath or a sauce that you make to really add another layer of flavor. All you have to do is use your imagination. You can come up with it. Accessories, of course, if you want to make pizzas, you want to do creme brulee, you want to do chicken, delicate stuff. Schwank Grill handles it all and does it easy. But the Centralites want a deal. Yes, I can smell it. You see all that great food in front of you that the Schwank Grill just prepared? You want to save. I got you. Go to the website, schwankgrills.com, SCHWANK grills.com. And then as you're checking out, use promo code BBQ Central, all one word. And you can save $150 off that Schwank Grill. Easy to save money and enjoy restaurant quality heat. Multiple levels. So if you have something that you're putting in there that doesn't need the intense heat, you can dial it down a little bit and give it less intense heat. You're just going to have a fun time cooking on it. Also, ultra portable. In case you didn't know it, football season's right around the corner. Schwankgrills.com, the website. You can go to the show notes here on the podcast and link through there. You can go to the main page of the Barbecue Central Show's website and click on the logo there. All sorts of ways to get to it. Just use promo code BBQ Central at checkout so you can save $150. We're back with John and John Macklemore. Stick around, we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, this portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You go to cookinpellets.com to look at what they have for sale, and then when you're ready to purchase, you leave cookinpellets.com altogether. You go to Lowe's.com or Walmart.com or Amazon.com. Same great products. Incredible shipping rates that Cooking Pellets can't give you. Told to me by Chris Becker himself. True. Longtime sponsor of the show. He's not steering you wrong. Leading off the show tonight are a father and son duo making their way through the live fire space as cooks, brand ambassadors, influencers, And since the sale of Masterbuilt to Middleby, you see them cooking on Fox during their concert series. And May 7th, you will be able to buy their brand new book, Gather and Grill, which, by the way, up until that day, you can pre-order on Amazon, including right now. Here to talk about it, our show friends, John and John McLemore, or John and J2. There they are. Happy to have you back here, guys. Before we get going, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody. So, J2, I'll start with you. You can answer independently of each other. Lamb is the most underrated protein to go on the grill, yes or no?
I actually voted yes, that it's underrated. There was somebody on there that said salmon was, which I didn't agree with. I think lamb is probably the most underrated.
John, lamb is the most underrated protein on the grill, yes or no?
I'm going to say yes because we cooked it at one of the concert series last year with our buddy Chef Tony Sita, and everybody went nuts.
He's actually one of 75 or 77 master chefs.
Yeah. Oh. So I love it. If it's done right, I would say it's underrated.
Is right medium rare?
I would not overcook it.
Yeah.
I would absolutely say medium to medium rare for sure. Yeah, and people don't really do it that much because they're kind of afraid of it. But yeah, I think it's underrated.
67% of the YouTube voting public are saying yes, they believe it is the most underrated protein, and 33% say no. So we will see how that plays out through the rest of the show. We're here to talk about the book, promote the book. As I had mentioned, it's going to be on doorsteps May 7th, so a little less than a week here. It's called Gather and Grill. John, are you actively pitching a book, or does somebody come to you and say the McLemore boys need to write a book?
It was both.
Yeah,
actually,
it was honestly a little bit of both. We had the I wouldn't say it was our idea. We had a lot of people at on the Fox community actually say, "Why do y'all not have a book? You know, you guys have such an incredible story. You're now father-son. Dad is a best-selling author." When he wrote his 3 Dadgum That's Good books back in 2010, 12, and 14. And now you guys have the father-son McLemore board thing. We love the personality, the stories, the recipes. Why don't you have a book? And which I'm like, I'm not qualified to be an author. And we ended up about a year.
Have you read some of the books out there lately, J2? I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point, Greg.
That's why you hire an editor, right?
Yeah.
And so about a year into our McLemore boy journey, we God opened some doors for us, and we ended up on a phone call with HarperCollins Publishers, and they were just super excited about possibly doing a book. And a year and a half later, books normally take about 18 to 24 months, and we did ours in less than 14.
Yeah.
And May 7th of 2024. What is that? 7 days from now?
Yeah,
we
baby.
are launching our book. So we're
6.5 days.
Yeah, pretty excited.
Yeah. So here, the McLemore boys was about a year and a half into our journey, and we realized that setting out to be a boy band wasn't working out. So why not write a cookbook?
Where are the songs at? You know, I would play those songs in a heartbeat. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so great. The hair and everything. Oh, yeah. I could see it working.
Yeah.
I love it.
I hear from well-known cookbook writers all the time that the first book is the easiest because you've built up an amalgamation, an accumulation of stuff to write about. Now, for 50% of the group here, I'm not including me, but you two, this is the 4th book. But for the other 50% of that group sitting to the right of me, it's the first book. So, J2, how do you find the book writing process as you were in the midst of it?
Well, I would say cookbooks are different. I will say that. But our cookbook is not so much what I would say a guide is, but it's really a story. The whole premise of Gather and Grill is we have our own tips and techniques. I mean, I personally think food, the outcome of food and cooking is a very subjective matter. Everybody's taste is just so different. Everybody's preference is different. What is the perfect steak? Well, how do you like your steak?
Yeah.
Right. So I think the whole premise of Gather and Grill is the story and accumulation of everybody we've cooked with, where we cooked, and then how we did those things. So it's partially recipes that we've done in our past and partially things that we've done kind of new. But I would say, I don't know if that's a good answer, but I don't know, Dad. What do you think?
John, you've written a bunch of books already, so what's this one like compared to the others?
So it's all about the stories, because we all know that you can go online and get just about any recipe, any technique. So when somebody buys our book, we hope that they enjoy the stories, the people that we've met, the people we've cooked with, the techniques that we do. And it also pulls them into, and we want to be a part of their family. We want to learn every day as we're cooking with new people. This book's been all about teamwork. I can tell you we couldn't have done it alone. Tanya, my wife, everybody calls T-Mall in our family and the cookbook world and at Fox and Friends, they call her Mama Mac. She did everything about the pictures and the memories. I wrote the stories. John took all the photos. We tested and wrote every single recipe.
Yeah.
So we could not have done it without that. Brooke, our oldest daughter, Bailey, they're here for our launch party. My son Michael is coming in from Texas. We got John's significant other Bree here. We've got Travis here with Bailey. It is a family affair.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, it's just made it more fun, but it's also made it more palatable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I can't forget Brian, my son-in-law. I mean, he's...
Dad's just
reeling off. Do I go down the grandkids and dogs?
So, I would say, Greg, it's been a pleasure to do it. People don't tell you how hard it is and how long it takes. You've got to somewhat persevere, because you can get so bogged down into the nooks and crannies of a book and writing the book, and your eyes want to bleed almost. But it's so worth it at the end of it, because the journey that we obviously went through, and then the stories we get to tell to do it. When we got great recipes on there, it's stuff that we've done for the past 50 years. Yeah. And then it's some new stuff. We're trying to be one of the very few cookbooks in the barbecue grill space to make the New York Times bestsellers list. So I would encourage, I saw Dennis out there that just pre-ordered it. So appreciate you, Dennis. But as an example, there's not very many books. We talked to a lot of people out there, and especially in our barbecue space, not a lot of barbecue books make that list. Yeah. We're trying to be one of the few, and hopefully that's a stepping stone to more grilling books, outdoor cooking books, barbecue books to make that list. And ultimately, it's about just doing it with good people.
Yeah.
John, what is your favorite recipe in the book and why?
This, John?
Yes.
Meemaw Southern Fried Chicken, because that's my mama's recipe. Obviously, we didn't do it on the grill, but it's the only recipe that we've repurposed 4 times in all books. We lost my mom 11 years ago, so that one will always be in our books. So it's up there as a favorite. I'm a pork tenderloin guy. I love doing that recipe, making it for sliders and trying to perfect. It's a little bit harder than a Boston butt, because people overcook it sometimes. Yeah. So I love that technique. So I'm probably going to be on the pork side. We feed a lot of people, a ton of people. So it is something that we can do something with. But then we get over to the beef side. We got some new friends at 44 Farms that we're doing things with. So I'm going to probably go to a tomahawk steak next.
Heaven forbid. J2, what's your favorite recipe and why?
It would be a mixture between a center cut filet or probably a reverse seared wing. Those are a toss up for me. Wings are my go-to. A smoke and seared wing is just hard to beat for me. And then a center cut filet. I just, for whatever reason, I love a center cut filet.
Yeah.
All right.
And lamb.
Yeah. Let me stick with you, J2, on this one. If you could stick one extra recipe in the book, what would it be?
Ooh.
I know.
One extra recipe.
What hit the cutting room floor where if there was 2 more pages, because John's going to tell us his here in a second, which one are you sticking right back in?
My mom is writing deep fried turkey on the board behind us.
That's what got us started.
I'd have to think. I don't know if I've thought about that in a while. Greg, that's a great question. Let me think about that, Dad.
John, what are you putting in the book?
I would say a pork chop, because we've got pork, tenderloin, Boston butt. We've got a lot of different recipes in there. And Tanya's like, how in the world did we write this book without a pork chop?
I know mine. Mine's going to be a pizza.
Okay.
Yeah?
We did some really unique baked croissant style rolls.
Bama.
That was a really unique recipe called a baked croissant ring.
Yeah.
And we did a pizza version of it. But I would say a pizza is something I love doing pizzas. I'd probably say that's one that I would wish I would have added in the book.
Yeah.
John, do you think that the pizza craze has plateaued, or do you feel that it will continue to raise in popularity? And what I mean by that is not that people love to eat it, because that's been proven over the history of 500 years, but for the amount of products being brought into the market for people to consume and put in their backyard. Do you think we'll start to see that taper? Are we at saturation?
I don't think we're at saturation yet, no more than we are in the camping world. It went through the roof. I mean, people started doing pizzas, during COVID, because they were just wanting to figure out more things to do. And it was one of those recipes they kind of had to do over and over and over to kind of perfect. I think they loved it so much that they kind of put it in their arsenal in their backyard to do something with. So I don't think it's plateaued yet, but I don't think it's one of those things that's going to forever be on that incline. But I don't think we're there yet. And I don't think it's going to fall completely off. People love them too much. So if they go to restaurants and do it, they typically will keep doing it in the backyard.
JT, what are you seeing is the next trend that influencers are starting to jump on and put on their channels?
Shorter. It's weird how videos, the style of videos being posted is changing so rapidly. I see a lot of barbecue guys out there jumping on trends, kind of like those TikTok trends where the recipe style videos are no longer, there's still places for long form, but they're turning into harder chopped videos. And it's so funny because I think the faster we go that way, the more you're seeing a resurgence of traditional long form videos. Because I see a lot of really successful videos out there that are just slower paced, and people want a little bit of a deep breath and not being crammed with information.
Yeah.
So
let's get back to the book here.
Yeah.
Okay.
15 years ago, if I'm talking to you guys, we're all slapping each other on the back saying John and J2 just made $1 billion. They're going to be book writers forever and ever. You fast forward here to 2024, and it appears that the book business is a little different than it used to be. Is there money in the book game, or is it more getting the Macklemore boys' name out in a different way and perhaps to a different audience that wouldn't see you otherwise?
Yeah, the shorter answer is there's not a whole lot of money in books unless you sell a lot of books.
Yeah.
But it is about getting your name out there. And I think writing a book establishes you and gives you a platform and opens up opportunities. I think that's kind of where you can make some money, is potential doors that it opens. And it gives you a very specific reason to talk about said recipe or said brand.
Yeah, it definitely gives you some credibility. And like John said, you got to sell a lot of books to be able to start getting to where you can make some money at it. So I think it's a combination of both. What we're loving about it is so many of the things that we're doing, Greg, have led to the next thing that we're doing. Cooking at the Patriot Awards for Fox Nation led us to cooking at Mar-a-Lago, led us to now going to Richard Childress Vineyard on May 20th to cook for NASCAR legends. And as we've been doing that, that's just kind of the next thing that we're going to write in book number 2.
Yep.
As we're starting to think about that. So I think it is a little bit of both.
And to that point, we cooked at the Baron Burton's Barbecue Invitational last year that we're doing again this year. We met the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation. We're now brand warriors or ambassadors for them. I just did a fashion show. We're now culinary experts and culinary ambassadors for them. And that turned into opportunities from Fox and Friends Cooking with Low Cash, the band. We met 44 farms through that band, and we're now ambassadors for 44 farms out of Texas. And we'll be doing a lot of cooking events with them this year as well. So it really opens the door to the networking and gives you some credibility, gives you a platform. Trust me, I wish, I don't want to be too vulnerable here, but we probably will spend money on the book. It's very difficult to make money off of a book. You got to sell a lot of copies. Yeah. Unless you're Gordon Ramsay, you know what I mean?
Hey, that's our goal.
Yeah. Let's be the next. Let's be the next one.
Yeah. Steve Ducey wrote our forward. He had the #1 cookbook in the world a couple of years ago, and he's wrote our forward. So that kind of helps us, get the book out there. Certainly someone like him that was as good as him with the Happy in a Hurry cookbook. I think we're going to make money off this book because we're going to sell a lot of them.
That's some confidence right there.
I love confidence. I mean, confidence helped build that brand, no doubt about it, when you were under control there. So Fox and Friends, the concert series, if you guys lived in New York City, I could see this being logistically a lot cooler. I look at it and go, oh my gosh, every week hauling ass from Georgia up to New York City and back down. Do they send the Gulf Stream down for you guys, or you got a commercial up and do all that? Like, obviously I can see the win there for you guys in a number of ways, but what do you like most about doing it?
That's another one of those projects where you don't really make a whole lot of money off of it, but it's the opportunities that it creates. It is a tremendous amount of work. Yeah. I would encourage people to try to join us and just kind of see how it happens. We leave Thursday mornings at 6 a.m. from Columbus, Georgia. We're in New York Thursdays by 2 p.m. We're set up by 6. We're in bed by 7 or 8, up by 3, on at 6. We're in a car by 10 p.m. and home by 6 the following Friday.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a whirlwind, but tremendous opportunities.
So to answer your question, we do fly up commercial. We have flown up private when we have really good high influence and friends that have private planes that like to go to concerts in New York. So we ride up with them.
Yeah.
So if you want to send your Gulfstream to Hamilton, Georgia to pick us up, Greg, we will gladly take you to a concert.
All right. Well, that sounds like a deal to me. So don't forget, coming up in 6.5 days, you can get your hands on the new book, Gather and Grill. You go to Amazon.com, pre-order right now. It's the Macklemores joining me here on the show. When you guys have the next thing lined up, reach out. We'll get you back on, and always looking forward to having the next conversation, guys. Continued success.
Yes, thank you, Greg, as always. You the man.
You got it. It's John and J2, the Macklemore Boys right there, the website, themacklemoreboys.com. And, of course, you can follow them over on their social media channels, which are the same handle, Macklemore Boys. Gather and Grill. So it's not just a cookbook. There's a lot of stories in there as well. And as you can tell, I mean, they're going to be some of the best stories you could probably hear. John and John appear to be great storytellers. All right, Mike McLeod is ready to go. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. Before we do that, I will tell you about our good friends over at Pits and Spits. Folks, are you tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? It's time to step your game up.
Step your game up.
Bring the ultimate flavor and cooker to the backyard barbecues. Pits and Spits charcoal grills offering the highest quality live fire cooking experience you can get in the market today using either wood or charcoal. Their solid fuel grills produce those classic flavors you're looking for when you have the time to fire up the grill and cook for family and friends. With a large adjustable fuel tray, you can raise and lower the fire to control and fine-tune the heat. They're taking the very popular San Maria-style grill. Go to the website, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. And then use promo code Charcoal Central, all one word, Charcoal Central, for $150 off any charcoal grill on the Pits and Spits website. As you're spelling it out, don't forget it's the double T on the Pits and the Spits, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. Promo code Charcoal Central for $150 off all the charcoal grills on sale at the Pits and Spits website. World Food Championships is next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central
And we thank
Show.
John and J2 Macklemore for joining us last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Dry, Fireboard Pro. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. You can connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring through your phone via the app. Smart speakers are fully integrated with Fireboard as well. If you have questions, you visit the website fireboard.com or you call with questions. 816-945-2232, the good folks over at Fireboard. Joining me now, the creator of the World Food Championships, and when I met him like 50 years ago, we called him the president and CEO of MMA Creative, longtime friend. Always happy to have Mike McLeod on the show. Mike, before we get into what we're talking about with World Foods and all that good stuff, we have a YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody, including all guests. Lamb is the most underrated protein on the grill, yes or no? I don't have your sound, Mike. Are you flipped on? There you go. Is that yes?
Yes.
Yes. 68% of the YouTube voting public in agreement with us, because I also believe it's the most underrated protein. Do you have a particular internal temp you like your lamb at, or does it depend on like leg of lamb versus rack of lamb versus lamb chop?
I feel like you throw me these questions assuming that I am
You eat?
a barbecue pitmaster or something. You seem to forget that I'm in the marketing side of the business, not in the cooking side of the business. So usually the temperature that I prefer is whatever temperature is being served to me as from a pitmaster.
So I'm guessing with the rack of lamb or lamb chop is probably like medium
whatever they
rare.
choose. You ask Al Lino.
All right, we'll ask
Al
Al.
Lino and his rack of lamb is fantastic.
How's the partnership with IMG?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. We mostly have curveballs. There's a few softballs here and there, but everything's falling in the strike zone, so we're happy about that.
The famous Dave's All-Star Barbecue Series is back for 2024. What's different this year versus last year, if anything?
I think we added some great new locations this year. We are trying to perfect the whole run of show around the event this year. There's not a whole lot different in the turn-ins or the turn-in process. We're basically trying to still connect the dots between consumers who love barbecue and Famous Dave's who wants to be a leader in barbecue, especially competition barbecue. So we want to make sure that we deliver a second season as efficiently and professionally and effectively as we can.
Was there such demand that in that first opening weekend you added a whole other contest? So now you have 2 opening events on that, I believe it's May 18th weekend. Is that just demand dictating that?
Yeah, it really is. We could have, if we had the manpower, we could have added probably 6 opening events. So we would rather overpromise or under-promise, over-deliver. So we stuck to 2 events on a weekend. Last year we had, I think there was one weekend that we had 2 contests, and we didn't want to push the envelope too much, so we decided to do that on the opening weekend. They have an appetite to do a lot. They have the store platform to do a lot. We have to, from a management standpoint, from a logistical standpoint, we have to expand our staff a lot more before we can deliver that kind of spectrum to them.
I remember a long time ago when Sam's Club was running that series, and the biggest complaint was after the local locations were announced. Well, why aren't you in Canton, Ohio? Or why aren't you over in Nowhere, Tennessee, or whatever? A similar issue in this kind of a thing as far as picking locations, or is that more of a refined process?
No, it's a similar situation. You know, we just when you catch the tiger by the tail, like we did with Sam's Club and like we have now with Famous Dave's, there's a lot more opportunity than there is ability to deliver results. And I could be one of those guys that says, "Oh yeah, we can do that," and maybe half-ass deliver it. But I learned a long time ago, before I got into barbecue, that wasn't a smart strategy for long-term success. So we try to measure what we can do and deliver it well, and make sure that everyone's happy with what we deliver. And unfortunately, that means we're somewhat limited in the number of locations and the number of weekends that we can activate these events. I hope with our new IMG partners and more resources and more success metrics that come from this season, that we can continue to expand it, evolve it. But this year is I think delivering on excellence. Last year was giving birth to it. Last year was a lot of trial and error. We modified the series 2 or 3 times in the process, and we think now that we have the right model, the right format, and we're going to run through this season as effectively and as efficiently and professionally that we can. We're going to get into World Food Championships, which is now in a whole new location in Indianapolis, and hopefully make Famous Dave's, our client, extremely happy in the process, and make the teams happy as well in the process.
I know you don't like to look past the next game ahead of you, but if you look 2 or 3 years down the road with this particular series, how do you envision it at ultimate success? Is it 100 events during the course of the year, or is it not necessarily quantity but quality?
First and foremost, is going to be quality. We're going to make sure that Famous Dave's is achieving its metrics, its ROI strategy, and whether that turns into 30 events down the road, 50 events, 100 events, whatever it is, that's what it will be. Personally, I would love to see this be a 4-quadrant national competition where you've got Southeast, Northeast, Midwest, Southwest regionals, and you have a bracketology that supports maybe 100 events that go to 50, it goes to 25, goes to 1. But we've got to make sure that our client and our friends at Famous Dave's are happy, and that it's hitting all of the benchmarks of success that we've discussed with them and they've discussed with us.
2 weeks ago, the final table event is held at Brightwater in Bentonville, Arkansas. As you look back on that, what was unique about this final table compared to years past?
I think every final table that we do, we just get a little bit better, a little bit tighter, and within that construct, we're able to get a little more creative. And the first of all, the 3 challenges at this final table, which many times you've heard me refer to as the culinary gauntlet. They were phenomenal from the family style serving of round one to the eat and repeat strategy, which we've loved ever since we introduced this game plan, to the palate to palate competition where we had all of the competitors go through one of the foremost museums and art collections in the world, and use that as motivation to put art on a plate. I think that the three challenges were phenomenal. Secondly, operationally, I think we just nailed it. I think that, you know, all the mechanics of running a world-class event that has $150,000 as a grand prize, and all the things that could go wrong. Our team has done a phenomenal job of eliminating the curveballs and executing excellently when it comes to this event. So that was another success. And then the third thing that I would say is that the talent was just crazy good. I mean, we had a Michelin star chef in the mix. We had a home cook. We had 3 international teams, and the final challenge, which is normally 3 teams, got expanded because we had a tie, and the third and fourth teams were tied. So you had 4 countries in the final challenge, the palate to palate challenge, which was a game leveler. The Michelin star chef in round 1 and round 2 was by far and away the best competitor there. But the artistic interpretation of art to a plate was a great leveler. And what it did, when we had France, London, Australia, John McFadden, our current, who was our reigning champion at the time, and Bethany Bodecker from Galveston, Texas. It became a leveler for all of them to be able to say, this is what I saw, this is what I experienced at the Crystal Bridges and the art installation, and this is how I translated it into a dish for you today. And Bethany Bodecker, the American competitor in that final challenge of 4 countries, was able to win not only the title and the trophy, but $150,000 by 0.03 of a point.
Wow!
I mean, it was just an amazing moment. Just reading the results as they occurred and as they were presented to me was pretty amazing. So I think it was another spectacular moment for food sport, certainly a spectacular moment for World Food Championships, and hopefully an unforgettable experience for every one of the contestants who were able to represent their category at the finals in Bentonville.
Not that it hasn't been in the past years, but really a true representation of World Food Championships. You got many different countries in the finals here, and of course the best country ends up pulling it out. Texas, of course, because Texas is better than everybody. Right. But I mean, just
country within a country
speaks to World Food Championships and the importance that a lot of these cooks are placing on it. Speaking of World Food Championships, we're moving out of Dallas, as you had mentioned, a new home, Indianapolis, Indiana, one of my favorite destinations across the nation. November 8th through the 12th. You hinted that maybe Dallas was down the road, but nothing firm enough to latch onto, and then all of a sudden we're out of there. Why?
First of all, we had great partners in Dallas. Visit Dallas was a phenomenal host committee for us. It just turns out that, you know, when we're as you know, we're constantly trying to push the envelope. We're trying to make sure that we connect the dots between consumers and competitors. I've done this from 2007, day one with Kansas City Barbecue Society. It's always been about I knowing the competitors, supporting the competitors, taking competition food to the next level as best we can. But also, you've got to be able to segue into the consumer experience. If you don't segue into the consumer experience, if you don't bring average foodies into the mix, you can't keep sponsorship dollars flowing into the prize purse, the operations, the overall strategy that funds the tournament or the event. So we were constantly in Dallas. We were constantly trying, even though we had plenty of funding and we had great partners, we were constantly trying to make sure that we were bringing that consumer into the mix, and that the consumers were receiving food sport the way we envision food sport, and supporting food sport the way we want them to support food sport. And unfortunately, we never could get the flywheel turned in Dallas. It's the only way I know how to say it. There was a certain number of supporters, a certain number of consumers that would come out no matter what, whether we had Tuffy Stone there or Mo Case on there or Leanna Whippen or Melissa Cookston or whomever it was. We never could move the needle. We never could get beyond a certain glass ceiling level of consumers there. And at the end of a lot of analysis, we just felt like being at the end of the Texas State Fair, being at the fairgrounds and associated with the Texas State Fair as a result, that was a harbinger, or actually it was an albatross a little bit on our shoulders, and the harbinger was we're never going to be able to really break through with our concept because of those things. So as every year passes, we always have partner opportunities and city opportunities who want to bring food sport to their community. And Indianapolis had made their desires known in 2019, and we kept that door open to them and talked to them. We did the final table there in 2020 in COVID when no one else could do anything. We found a way between the COVID spikes to do final table. And it was because of the great community support and spirit of Indianapolis. And when we looked around and said, okay, how do we continue to move the needle? How do we continue to take food sport to the next level? Indianapolis kept popping up. It just kept popping up as, okay, why don't we look at a big city that feels like a small town? Mm-hmm. And that's the way I look at Indianapolis.
Totally.
And we talked to them deeply after our last event in Dallas, and we said, if you're still interested, we're interested. We'd like to talk to you. And long story short, we're able to find a construct for a deal. And when we basically said, okay, we think we've fulfilled our mission in Dallas. We've taken it as far as we can in Dallas. We now need to move to a higher ground and see if we can achieve new metrics and break through that glass ceiling and get to the point where consumers will appreciate more of who we are and support more of who we are as a food sport. So that's long and the short. That's kind of a 30,000 foot view perspective from me, but that's how we ended up in Indianapolis.
I'm a huge Indianapolis fan. I'm unabashed on the show for a number of reasons, not the least of which is St. Elmo Steakhouse. If I might be critical just for a second, and I know that's way out of character for me with you, Mike, I'm worried about the dates. November in Indy, as dicey as it gets as November in Cleveland. It could be 60 and 70 degrees May 8th through 12th. It could be 6 or 7 degrees November 8th through the 12th. So why are these dates the ones that are picked? Is it because that's traditionally associated with World Food Championships? Is that what Indy's giving you? Why these dangerous dates?
So there's two short answers to this. But by the time we were deciding that we might move and we got the negotiations done, the traditional dates that we do WFC were the only dates available to do this event in Indianapolis. And the good news about that is we're going to be in the brand new Farm Bureau State Ag Pavilion at the fairgrounds in Indianapolis, and it is a phenomenal facility. 90% of what we do will be inside. We have roll top doors that will open up to hopefully a great barbecue pit area, a burn area, a tailgate area, whatever you want to call it. We're kind of working through some machinations on that right now. So you know the barbecue community as well as I do, if not better, and you know that barbecuers who love what they do will cook in rain, snow, sleet, or ice, whatever it is. And I hope and pray that we're going to have good weather, that it's that 70-degree day, not that 7-degree day this year. But we are also in the contract with them. We've already made it very clear that we want to long-term move up into the season. We believe we've got to be in late September. We've got to be in early October, somewhere in that range if we're going to stay in Indianapolis long-term. Because if we get lucky this year, we can't depend on that luck years to come. So this year, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed, trying not to piss off Mother Nature very much, and hope that we have great weather. But even if we don't, the impact will be minimal because it will be in the barbecue zone or the tailgate zone that we create. Everything else will be indoors.
Dealing with barbecue specifically, because it's seen different evolutions over the course of World Food Championships, but as it sits right now, how does the barbecue side of things look right now for 2024?
It looks pretty good. Most of our teams are going to come through the Famous Dave's qualifier program, and that'll put us at about 30 teams right there. And then we've got ancillary qualifier events that we have existing relationships with that will bring another 4, 5, 6 teams in. So for year one in Indianapolis, if we have 30, 35 teams, we're going to consider that a success because it's one of 12 divisions, right? We have 11 other categories that we focus on. I think that the process in barbecue is pretty sound. We have a day one where it's pretty close to traditional sanctioning bodies, even though we use a silver platter strategy and will not venture away from that. And then day two in barbecue is going to be a sequential wild card turn in, which in our opinion was wildly successful last year. Famous Dave's loves this program. It is a anything but, we call it a wild card. And it can be dessert, it could be rack of lamb, it could be crab legs. We don't care what it is. Just impress us and make sure you can cook it on the grill or smoker. So those are the two primary elements. Last year we had a kind of a fast pass to the finals through our bike club strategy, which is a Sam's Club program. You know that we're very close to Sam's Club and Walmart, and we are very attentive to the objectives that they want to achieve. We're probably not going to do bike club and barbecue. I did hear some of the concerns about doing bike club that way for barbecue specifically that we'll probably veer away from this year and just keep it to the day one, cook these 3 things, day 2, do your wild card, and we'll determine the 7 finalists from there. So it's not too far off of what we did last year.
Are you hesitating on just like asking me to come out and be an MC for this whole thing since I'm only 5 hours away, or what? I'm just getting that vibe.
Now that you can drive to the event, if you're not there, we're going to have one heck of a Tuesday night post-op interview on this event.
Yeah.
So you not only are you invited, you are expected to attend.
All right. Well, I don't want that lashing.
And by the way, if you attend, I'm going to give you. I heard you talking about books on the previous segment, so not to be excluded from that, but we do have this thing going on here.
Burgers and Bacon Cookbook from the World Food Championships.
That's right.
All right.
And we're going to do more. So just by showing up, you're going to get one of those, and everyone on my team is going to autograph it for you. So
wow.
And we'll work out the other details that I know you need.
All right. Well, sounds good. And this is Mike McLeod, worldfoodchampionships.com, the website, of course, breaking down what's new this year. It's Famous Days. We talked about the final table and a preview of what's going to be going on in Indy. Mike, always appreciate the time, and we will look for you again soon.
Do you want my secret to making a lot of money at cookbooks?
It's one of those weird questions that I ask. Yeah, I mean, I'm always open to looking to make money. So what's the secret?
It's real simple, man. If you want to make $1 million at a cookbook, you got to pay for and print 1 billion of them.
Yeah. It's the same saying in the cigar industry. If you want to make $1 million in cigars, selling cigars, you got to start with $2 million. So that's the way it is. Mike, appreciate it as always.
Always fun.
Mike McLeod right there. WorldFoodChampionships.com is the website. And we will catch up here. By the way, if that's the first you're hearing of it, World Food Championships is going to be in Indianapolis, Indiana. Matt Osmond saying, Greg travels, who knew? I've been to Indy like 10 times, so it's almost like second home. I know how to get there with my eyes closed. One of the easiest drives ever from where I live. South 71, West 70, and eventually you just run into it. You will literally pass it if you just keep doing those two directions from my house. Hey, what do we love about Primo Grills? I know what I love. They're big. We love big. We love that they're big. We love that they just got even bigger, according to Nick Bauer when he was on the show last week, saying that they are now pre-ordering Primo XXL. In my backyard right now, you find the Primo XL, 400 square feet, and now they have the XXL, which I believe he said they pressed out to 500 square feet. So you want to do multiple briskets, you want to do multiple pork butts, you want to do many different hamburgers and hot dog combination, chicken parts, whole chickens for that matter. Now it becomes an imagination as a limiter, not size as a limiter. They're also coming out with the accessories to support that as well for the new ones that they have to make. So if you are signed, sealed, and delivered as a customer, a buyer for XXL, again, get on the website and do the pre-order. It's only $50 to hold it. You can pay the balance after that. Those $50 will go towards the bottom line of that grill. Only sold through dealers. So if you are not interested in the XXL and you want to get one of the normal sized ovals or that are currently existing, I mean, who's normal? Then go to the dealer. Why not? Inches, square inches, David. Sorry. I say 400 square feet. I said XXL, didn't I, David? Square inches. Sorry. Please forgive me. So go to your dealer, find one near you by visiting the website primogrills.com. Go to the dealer locator portion, type in your zip code, and then go meet everybody. They're happy to have you. Touch and feel all the ovals and pick the one that's best for you. Good folks over at Primo Grills. We're back to wrap the first hour, and we're already late, I know, but stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
We're thanking Mike McLeod for joining us last segment. WorldFoodChampionships.com is a website. And I'm telling you, these effing Cavaliers are screwing with me on purpose. 82-82 with 9.5 to go in the fourth. The Cavs get bounced in the first round, and this show turns into a sports talk show for whatever that next opening segment is going to be. This is outrageous. But I digress. We thank Mike McLeod. So if you have any questions about a number of topics, because I know we unpacked a lot there, if you want to compete in one of those famous Dave All-Star Barbecue Series competitions, you can go to the World Food Championships website, or I believe starting today, if you get the podcast notes or you subscribe to the newsletter, you can just click on the link in there, and then that will take you to the website, or that portion of the website that lists out all of the different events. You can jump in on one of the open ones, and remember, there's a lot of events that are already closed because they've reached a max. It's like 5 or 6 teams total in each event, so not a lot. WorldFoodChampionships.com in case you want to get a little heads up on what's going to be coming up November 8th through the 12th. A lot of teams on the barbecue side are going to be competing through Famous Days, as Mike mentioned, but also there's going to be a number of them qualifying through Smoke Slam coming up in a couple weeks. Let's point to the second hour. We'll get a poll update. It's starting to shrink back, believe it or not. And we have a great second hour awaiting you in interview. So stick around. We'll be right back.